TV laatake golle moƴƴuɗe jogiten Fulbe TV télévision nga gondeten golle Fulbe TV laatake golle moƴƴuɗe jogiten Fulbe TV télévision nga gondeten sayomen Fulbe TV wari kam ɓamta wolde men Fulbe TV wari to men Fulbe TV tiggama ngam hanga hawta hoore men Fulbe TV wari to men Fulbe TV ɗon dari konde welna ɓerɗe men Fulbe TV wari to men golle Fulbe TV teddinoyi finatawa men golle Fulbe TV laatake golle moƴƴuɗe jogiten Fulbe TV télévision nga gondeten Fulbe TV ɗon
All our prayers be answered. So my name is John Jaliba Mbake. I also work with the Nyang Sanneh Institute for Social Research and Justice as Programs Assistant and equally serve as a graduate assistant with the University of the Gambia in the Department of Political Science. I'm glad to serve as the moderator for today's event. Without wasting time, we will want to start the event proper. And what we want to start with is with the welcoming remarks. And on this occasion, I'll invite Council Fatou Bin Salah to do the opening remarks on behalf of the Institute.
Thank you, John. Good morning, distinguished guests, speakers, esteemed representatives from our partner organizations, fellow members of civil society organizations, and our dear students from the university and other academic institutions. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this important and joyous occasion, the official opening of the Nyang Sanneh Institute for Social Research and Justice's new office space. Today is not only about inaugurating a physical space, it is about celebrating a vision rooted in learning, dialogue, and social transformation. The Nyang Sanneh Institute was founded by a group of committed Gambian scholars and professionals, including Professor Abdoulaye Sen, seated right here, Mr. Baba Silla, and Mr. Senifai, amongst others, all seated here. They represented the very best of what it means to be Gambian, rooted in community, yet global in vision. By naming this institute after them, we not only celebrate their legacies, but also carry forward their commitment to nurturing a generation of thinkers and doers who will continue to uplift our nation, the Gambia. Today's opening marks a new milestone in that journey. This new office represents more than just a workspace. It is a space of ideas, learning, and collaboration. A place where conversations will spark new insights and where research and civic engagement will meet to create solutions for our dear Gambia. It is a place where young people can read, think, and dream. We are particularly proud that this space will also serve as a resource center for students. The library, as we can see, is a building containing a growing collection of books on history, human rights, governance, gender, politics, religion, and social change that we hope will inspire curiosity and deepen learning. We encourage students from universities and high schools alike to make use of the space, whether to study, to research, or to engage in open discussions. In the spirit of Professors Nyang and Sanneh, this will be a place to welcome inquiry, diversity of thought, and dialogue. This achievement will not have been possible, of course, without the generous support and encouragement of our partners and collaborators. We extend our heartfelt appreciation to all the individuals and organizations within civil society, academia, and beyond who have worked with us on this journey for the past 3 years. Your belief in the vision of the Nyang Sanneh Institute has helped us make today a reality. As we move forward, we look to the future with optimism and purpose. We envision this new space as a platform for collaboration, a meeting point for scholars, activists, and students alike, a bridge between research and policy, and a hub for new ideas that can contribute to the Gambia's democratic and social development. Let us continue to work together through knowledge, dialogue, and partnership to build a society that values learning, justice, and human dignity. Once again, thank you all for joining us on this special day. Your presence is a testimony to the shared belief that ideas matter, that education transforms, and that together we can build a better Gambia and a better Africa. Welcome to the Nyang Sanneh Institute, a home for knowledge, reflection, and transformation. Thank you all.
We also in our midst have Mr. Said Matijau, who is a lecturer at the University of the Gambia, and also the Executive Director for Center for Research and Policy Development. Mr. Said Matijau, you're welcome, and we appreciate your presence this morning. We also want to recognize the presence of the Executive Director of this institution, who happened to be Professor Abdullah Sen. We want to recognize your presence. He's sitting behind there, and he is the leader who have been helping us a lot in order for the institution to be where it is today. We also want to recognize the presence of part of the fellows or the executive. We have Mr. Uncle Senifai, who is an educationist and also is always available and supportive towards the progress of this institution. Mr. Senifai, you are highly welcome. We equally want to recognize the presence of Mr. Council Imran Dabo, who is always with us, who is always available. Whenever you call him, he's always available to be able to support us, and we want to thank you for coming. We recognize your presence this morning. Equally, we want to recognize the presence of Mr. Amadou Gay, who is also part of the leadership of this institution, whom you know that even if you call him at 2 a.m., he is always available to be able to respond to your messages. Mr. Amadou Gay, you are highly welcome, and we recognize your presence. Equally, we want to recognize the presence of the individual that just did the opening remarks in the person of Atu Bin Salah. We recognize your presence, and also key or members of the institute who have found this institute to be where it is today. We want to thank you for also coming and also giving us the opening remarks. Thank you so much. Equally, we have also in our midst the spokesperson of the Gambians Against Looted Assets, or an individual that is known to be very vocal, or who is an activist that is widely known, especially among the youth folks. And it is no other person but Mr. Umar Saibo Kamara. We want to say thank you so much for coming. We recognize your presence. And also we have Mr. Sanneh, who is the one who is in charge of this, all these office spaces here. And if NSI can be able to rent this place today, it's as a result of Mr. Sanneh's kindness and his willingness to always be available to support us wherever we need his support. Mr. Sanneh, thank you so much for gracing this occasion. We thank you for being here. We also want to recognize the presence of individuals from the University of the Gambia. We have some students here from the university in the person of Mr. Abubakar Dabo. We have Mr. Kebas Ture, and also we have Miss Rohi Job. We want to thank you all for coming here, and also we have Sukai. Sukai is here representing Civic Bantaba, which is also another civil organization which is being led by some group of young people in this country. Also, we have in our midst some of the staffs or interns of the institute. We have Mr. Aliu Jallo, and also we have Mr. Francis Mende. So you can see we have a diverse community of people who are working in this institute to help the institute to be where it is today, and also looking forward to a lot of things that we look forward to doing. And also finally, I think I forget to introduce Mr. Abdullah Silda, who is also here with us, and also the GRTS team who are doing the coverage for the program that we are having today. Once again, you are all welcome to this event. We do not have any newspaper. Thank you so much all for coming, and we look forward to having an interactive session as we do the opening of this institute. Moving forward now, we want to go on with the presentation or giving the statements or the remarks. And if you have the program guide, you are going to see the names of the individuals that will be giving statements as we do the office opening this morning. And to start with, we have Professor Abdullah Sen, who is the Executive Director of the Nyang Institute for Social Research and Justice, who is going to also give us a statement about the institute and what we look forward to doing in the near future. Professor Abdullah Sen, you're highly welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my comments kind of brief in an effort to give our guests enough time to share with us their ideas as well as their prescriptions, suggestions for the Institute. Now, this Institute came about maybe about 2.5 years ago, and maybe to extend it, maybe 3. And it has been a great adventure for a lot of people, because our main goal, really, is the furtherance of knowledge, collection of data that we can disseminate throughout the country and beyond to help advance these constituencies. We are truly delighted to have all of you here. And we've talked about this for quite some time about the Institute. Primarily, it is intended to safeguard certain key principles that are fundamental to our society: equality, promoting human rights, gender, and a host of other things. And it is really a consequence of what is going on as we speak today at universities, in society, and everywhere else. So it is really, in many ways, a continuation of things that all of us have an investment in. I would like to say that the NSI is here for everybody. We are interested in research, we are interested in advocacy, we are interested in so many things that we cannot probably talk about this morning. But fundamentally, we are concerned about the ways in which our society is run. We must be engaged. We must be active citizens. We cannot just sit back and let things go as they have been for a while. So our primary goal, therefore, as an institute, is to advance knowledge, do research, and at the same time, use those elements to further the concerns of our citizens as well as the world at large. So I'd like to welcome all of you, the speakers in particular. I have known all of them for some time, and it is truly an honor to have all of you join us this morning. I will keep my comments quite short because the Institute is already known to some degree. But fundamentally, we are concerned about human rights, about research, and furthering social justice in our society. So thank you for coming, and we welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that wonderful statement on what the institution is all about and also what we look forward to doing. And this is to inform all of us here that Nyang Sanneh is an institute that is very interested in contributing towards the national development of this country in our own ways. And also we call upon all the individuals and different organizations present here who are interested in working, or are also interested in the areas NSI is interested in, to be able to collaborate. Because once we collaborate, once we do things collectively, then the results becomes very fruitful. Thank you so much once again, Prof, for that wonderful statement on what the institution is about and also what we look forward to doing in the near future. We will equally move forward. And now we also want to move forward with the keynote speakers. And our next speaker is Professor Mamadou Sallah, who is going to be speaking to us on the role of think tanks in research and policy advocacy. But it's important that before Professor Mamadou Sallah comes here, that we introduce who Professor Mamadou Sallah is. I'm sure there are people here who might not know him, whilst there are also people here who know him. But introducing Professor Mamadou Sallah, is currently serves as the operational manager of the Central Projects Coordinating Unit at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs in the Gambia, which oversees multiple projects by the World Bank and other international partners. Previously, he was the director of Center for Academic Innovation at the De Montfort University, UK from 2019 to 2024, and where he continues to serve as Professor of Learning and Teaching, bringing over 2 decades of experience in higher education. In 2015, the Times Higher named him the most innovative teacher in the UK. He was also a National Teacher Fellow by the UK Higher Education Academy in 2013. I think that alone deserves a round of applause. Also, Professor Sallah is the founding director of Global Hands and the Catalyst Academy, impactful social enterprise, which is focused on capacity building and advancing social good in both the Gambia and UK. For the past 4 years, he has been the principal investigator for a pioneering partnership between De Montfort University and the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, USET, in the Gambia, guiding the transformation of GDTI into USET. His leadership in his collaboration has established an innovation and incubation lab, quality assurance frameworks, a placement and internship unit, and a certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship program at USET. An accomplished scholar, Prof. Salah has authored 7 books and over 40 academic articles and chapters, contributing extensively to the fields of youth and community development, diversity, globalization, and pedagogical innovation. His works reflects a deep commitment as a scholar activist to leveraging education and social entrepreneurships as tools for addressing complex development challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome Professor Mamoudou Salah to give a statement for his opening ceremony. You're welcome.
All protocols duly observed. Good morning. That sounded very, very long and elaborate. And I'm sure when I go out there, people expect an older and wiser man. So when they see a younger man, I always get it. It's an absolute honor to be invited to the launch of the offices of these great institutions, which is anchored on the work of titanic Gambian intellectual giants, in every measure, not only nationally but internationally. So to be associated in this with something that they've done is an absolute honor, and I'm very, very grateful. Prof. Sen is my Sirindara, so it's always good to see and support the work that he does. We're very, very grateful and we are honored. So if I don't follow the protocol, please forgive me, because I know kind of like he's taken all the time introducing me, so I can just get on with it now. It is an honor, it is an absolute honor to bear witness to this historic moment, the official launch of the Nyang Institute office, a literal manifestation of what I like to call epistemic sovereignty, symbolizing the capacity of a people to generate, validate, and usher their own knowledge systems in the service of their own collective emancipation, and an antidote to what De Souza calls epistemicide, which is the destruction of whole cultural and knowledge systems. This is not merely the physical birth of an institution. It is the renewal of a national covenant, one that affirms that the Gambia must not only consume knowledge, but also produce it, critique it, and own it. Across the world, think tanks occupy the intersection between knowledge and power, between the wall of ideas and the realm of policy. They are both the midwives and the custodians of evidence that shapes decisions. But in the Gambia, our context demands that think tanks become more than interpreters of government policy. They must become intellectual insurgents, institutions that provoke reflection, challenge the defective logic of the system, as Paulo Freire would say, question orthodoxy, and construct new imaginaries for governance and development. A think tank in our context cannot be satisfied with descriptive analysis. It must be prescriptive and transformative. Its task is not simply to inform, it is to illuminate, to act as a bridge between data and dignity, between knowledge and justice. In short, think tanks in the Gambia must become spaces of critical consciousness, where evidence is mobilized, not as an end in itself, but as a means of collective revelation. Our continent's development trajectory has long been distorted by what De Souza calls epistemicide, the killing of alternative ways of knowing and being. For decades, Africa has been researched upon rather than researched with. We have been made objects of analysis rather than subjects of authorship. This is why institutions like the Nyang Institute are not merely academic. They are decolonial projects. They reclaim the right to theorize from our own lived realities, to locate knowledge production within the rhythms, idioms, and aspirations of Gambian society. Knowledge divorced from context is not neutral. It is violent. Hence, when we talk about structural violence, it is something as palpable as the hunger and then the violence in the streets. When policy is built on imported epistemologies that do not resonate with our social realities, it risks producing dependency rather than fostering development. Therefore, the work of think tanks in this country must be to construct a homegrown intellectual infrastructure, one that is empirically grounded, normatively conscious, and epistemologically self-aware. In understanding Gambian society, we must resist the temptation of singular narratives. A young woman in Janjambure is not only female or poor or rural. She exists at the intersection of multiple identities, class, gender, faith, geography, and generation, all shaping her agency and her vulnerability. Public policy that ignores the complexity will always be reductionist. Intersectionality, therefore, is not an academic luxury. It is an ethical necessity. It allows us to move beyond linear analysis and to engage with the messiness of lived experiences. For think tanks, this means designing research frameworks that capture the interplay of social, cultural, economic, and historical forces, and translating that complexity into policies that are responsive, equitable, and just. My own intellectual and professional journey has been shaped deeply by participatory action research, an approach rooted in the Freudian belief that people must be able to name their world before they can change it. Participatory action research is not merely a methodology. It is a philosophical. It is a philosophy of engagement. It rejects the hierarchical relationship between researcher and research and replaces it with co-production, a dialogic process in which knowledge is created with people, not about them. Imagine, for a moment, a policy think tank that sees community members not as data points, but as co-theorists. Imagine our national development agenda being informed by farmers who understand climate vulnerability better than any econometric model, by youth who lived the realities of unemployment and exclusion every day, by women who hold the pulse of our local economies through informal networks and mutual aid. This is not utopia. That is participatory epistemology. It is the foundation upon which sustainable, people-centered policy must exist. Let us also acknowledge something important, that knowledge is never neutral. We can claim it as much as we want and until the cows come home, but knowledge is never neutral. Who we are shapes what we can know. As Gambian researchers, we possess what I have called experiential or cultural affinity, the ability to hear what outsiders cannot, to interpret silence as eloquence, to understand context, not through translation, but through embodiment. This insider perspective is not a bias to be apologized for. It is an epistemic advantage to be cultivated. It enables us to construct research that is culturally congruent, socially legitimate, and ethically grounded. For think tanks like the Nyang Institute, this means embedding cultural literacy and ethical reflexibility into every project, recognizing that our legitimacy is derived not from academic rigor, but from relational trust. I have been in the academic tower too long to understand the metrics that judges us in terms of publishing or perishing and doing whatever it takes to publish with scant regard for the welfare on its impact on our people. For things like Nyang Institute, this means embedding cultural literacy and ethical reflexibility into every project, recognizing that our legitimacy is derived not from academic rigor, but from relational trust. The contemporary think tank must play three interlocking roles. First, as translator. converting complex research into accessible, actionable knowledge that policymakers can engage with without diluting its integrity. Second, as a bridge builder, linking academia to practice, local voices to global debates, and evidence to empathy. And third, as a conscience, holding power accountable, not through partisanship, but through principled critique, through the moral insistence that public policy must always serve the public good. A think tank without courage becomes an archive. But a think tank with courage becomes an engine of transformation. And given the different intractable development challenges that we face, not only in the Gambia, but within the African continent, knowledge must move away from the ivory tower into demonstrable and palpable impact on the lives of people. The Gambia today stands at a critical juncture. We are a young nation, demographically vibrant yet structurally fragile. We face challenges of governance, of employment, environmental stress, and educational reform. But we also stand on the threshold of possibility. Our greatest resource is not our land, or our river, or our climate. It is our people and their capacity to think collectively. If think tanks can cultivate that capacity, if they can generate evidence that is rigorous, disaggregated, and locally rooted, then we can move from reactive policy making to anticipatory governance. The Nyang Sanneh Institute must therefore become a national node in this ecosystem of thought, a convener of ideas, a cultivator of evidence, and a champion of intellectual independence. A champion of intellectual independence. Let me offer a metaphor. Too often, think tanks are imagined as lighthouses, distant structures casting light from afar. But what the Gambia needs today are bonfires, spaces of shared warm proximity and participation. Around that bonfire, the minister and the mason, the academic and the apprentices, the policymaker and the peasant can sit together, not as adversaries. And for me, this is important. That approach of confrontation, does not often locate the metrics of power and engage effectively with the metrics of power. Because if power is situated in the structural and the cultural and the personal, and understanding both the hardcore and the softcore violence of the state, in that the state has the army, the police, the administration, the judiciary, and that there's also the softer side of it in terms of the church, the mosque, culture, media, and then bringing about change, not only as academics locked up in the ivory tower, but as intellectual insurgents who understand the need of the people and put the needs of the people instead of that intellectual masturbation that a lot of us engage in publicly. Then it's also about understanding the metrics of power. If we have to be confrontational, we can be confrontational. And for a lot of us, that do not scare us. But it's also about bringing the people. It's about looking at how impact can be best achieved. The Nyang Sanneh Institute must therefore become a national node. Around that bonfire, the minister and the mason, again, I repeat, the academic and the apprentice, the policymaker and the peasant can sit together, not as adversaries, but as co-authors of a shared national story. That is the intellectual spirit, I hope, that this institute will embody, and I know it will. Collective inquiry grounded in humility, guided by rigor, and animated by hope, knowing your executive director and the vision of those people who set this up. Let me conclude now, because I've been talking for a while now. In launching the Nyang Sanneh Institute today, the offices we are asserting something profound, that research must never be divorced from justice, that knowledge must serve liberation, and that policy must be anchored in truth. The Institute must be a living example of what I have elsewhere called the pedagogy of disruption. And pedagogy of disruption is embedded in pedagogy of discomfort, because we will deal with difficult things. We will have difficult conversations. we will find very, very challenging kind of like confrontations. It must also be based in the pedagogy of caring, that we care for each other, each other's welfare, and the dignity to work, that people have to come to work with their dignity intact and they live with their dignity intact. You know, there is also that tolerance of ambiguity, of being uncertain, of that uncertainty. But that must be welcome and embraced. It cannot be something that is foreign and that is distasteful. So the pedagogy of disruption embeds all of these things. Its mission must be to ensure that evidence becomes empathy, that statistics acquire a soul, that policy becomes an act of care. If we can achieve that, if we can turn knowledge into nationhood, then the Gambia will not only participate in global debates, it will shape them. Let this institute then be our national conscience, our intellectual sanctuary, and our moral compass, reminding us that the ultimate purpose of research is not publication, but participation, not prestige, but progress, not citation, but transformation. And if we succeed in this endeavor, and I'm sure we will not simply have launched an institute the physical manifestation today. We will have ignited a movement, one that dares to imagine a Gambia that thinks for itself, acts for itself, and thrives for all. Thank you very much.
For doing justice to the team, the role of think tanks in research and policy advocacy. That was a very wonderful and a powerful statement that you have delivered there. And when you were speaking, it just reminded me that last week we were in Profstown in Kaur, and we were having a focus group discussion, and we met this retired staff of Action Aid, and he was telling us that when government is making policies, it should be bottom-top approach. It should not be top-bottom approach, mainly saying that when they are making policies, it should involve the citizens to ask them what they want and what are their challenges so that they can provide them solutions. But if you just go ahead and come about with a policy that does not reflect the needs of the people, then that policy is not going to address the challenges of the people. But few things that you have mentioned here that I think are very powerful, that all of us who are present here should take home with, is the importance of public policy. That public policy is very important, and those of us who went to university, who are taught by individuals like Mr. Syed Mati, especially if you are in the political science department, must do public policy analysis before you graduate. And public policy is very important, highlighting that you are coming up with a policy that is reflecting the needs of the people. But if you come up with a policy that does not reflect the need of the people, it becomes a mere paper that would, even if you implement it, it is not going to bring solutions to the challenges those people are facing. And also, people must name their wall before they can change it. Part of the things also that you have mentioned here, the need for people-centered policy, and also think tanks must serve as translators, bridge builders, and a voice of conscience. If think tanks do these three things, I believe that we are going to experience change, a very progressive one in our societies. So once again, thank you so much for coming, Professor, and also thank you for giving that statement on the role of think tanks in research and public policy or policy advocacy, especially in the context of the Gambia. We will move forward in accordance with the program guide, and we want to move forward now to inviting another individual that is well known as far as research is concerned in this country, and also is well known in the aspect of lecturing as far as the University of the Gambia Political Science Department is concerned. And that is no other person but Mr. Syed Matijau, who is a lecturer at the University of the Gambia, who also is the Executive Director of the Center for Research and Policy Development. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us give a round of applause to Mr. Syed Matijau as we invite him to address this opening ceremony.
Thank you very much, John. I think you guys have two options now. I can repeat everything that Prof. Salah just mentioned, or something else. But yes, or something else. The scholar activists, you know. So there are many things that I could say. But I want to say a very big thank you to the Nyang Institute for inviting me. I know the invitation is both personal but also professional in the sense that I remember when Prof first had some of the ideas, he came here. That time we were here. I think since after then, CRPD has moved like 3 offices, but now we are permanent somewhere. You know, but Prof's visit on that day basically reminded me one thing, that I met Prof. Before I met him personally, I met him through his intellectual work. And sometimes I tell our students that during our time at UTG, we were studying under dictatorship. And there were no documents or materials that were very accessible to us. And to know and learn about our country, we mostly rely on the materials that were produced by Prof Sala, and many others that have stood the test of time, especially when our country was going through a difficult period. And so I'm never surprised, and I usually criticize the diaspora before, that they were mostly interested in regime change but not democratic promotion. But when Prof came here the other time and mentioned about establishing this institute, and since then the institution has been there, but today I feel like I'm coming home, back to my own building. But this building has luck, Prof, I tell you that. It has a lot of luck, and I think it's a good starting point, you know, for growth and development. And I wouldn't say much, because when Professor Sala was also talking, I was also reflecting as someone that is also in the think tank business, that there are a lot of lessons that we could learn, but we are also all starting fresh. The space that we are in is very new. It has a lot of potential, has a lot of responsibility as well, that we can be called upon to address the needs and concerns of our country. And I think this is also the motivation for all of us. And so for, I'm not going to speak on behalf of UTG, but I can speak on behalf of CRPD, that we are looking forward to see how best we can take up this relationship and move it forward, to see how best we can build partnership moving forward, especially the fact that now we have an intellectual space that is not only about discussing ideas, but also mentoring the next generation of Gambian scholars. Because for me, I think that is the most important element of the Nyang Institute, given the name, given the people that the institute are named after, but given Prof and his colleagues, given the history where we've come from, I think it's an opportunity for all of us to be able to build the next generation of Gambian scholars and intellectuals, and I think this institute basically is for that. Especially when I see my boss now, John. We work together at the university. Seeing him here, I think speaks to that whole idea of leaving a legacy. And sometimes people feel leaving a legacy is, you know, do grand stuff, but it's about how you build the next generation to continue to live and to grow what has been there. So, like I said, there is one thing that I could repeat what Prof said, but this is the other thing that I wanted to share, to say that, to pray that this office be a stepping stone, maybe be the cloud for more better opportunities, but it's not only for the Nyang Institute, but for the entire country. And so we wish you all the best, and then we're looking forward to working with you at Center for Research and Policy Development. And we are still your students. We are still your students, and we are still learning from that. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Informing the Institute that now we can collaborate with Center for Research and Policy Development and the University of the Gambia too, for many works that we can do together, because when we partner, the relationship becomes symbiotic. Those of you who do science will understand. So thank you so much once again for that wonderful statement. We want to also move forward. We have also another guest, an individual in our midst today, that we do not want to leave this place without giving him some time to also share one or two things with us. And that is no other person but Mr. Keba Ture, who is the advisor to the Minister of Information. And Mr. Keba Ture, please, we want to welcome you and to give you this opportunity to share one or two things with the Institute. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Very much. We honor this invitation, even though not prepared, but I have the privilege to say one or two words. And as part of me, I am proud to be part of this because I'll come to that after. This Nyang Sanneh Institute for Social Science and Justice is a step in the right direction because as a government, we will always support and encourage the capacity building because in learning, you can never exhaust learning. Learning is everyday thing. If you don't learn, you'll be left out or you'll be left behind. But if you keep learning, you'll build your capacity and you'll be able to challenge and be more innovative and be creative so that together we can do it and develop our country. So government will always encourage and support people who are interested in doing capacity building. And this is very intelligent and very nice. Mr. Nyang, the minister will be well informed. He was busy, but he assigned me to come and represent him, which I'm honored and privileged to be here. Okay, coming back to this Nyang Sanneh Institute for Science, Research and Social Justice. I am part of this, and I'm proud to be part of this because Elo Sanneh is my uncle. He's first cousin to my mom. We always call him Uncle Malami. So when I was coming here, I didn't know it was this. But definitely, I would not have left this place without saying something. You see, we are proud, and the family will be proud for you people to keep his legacy. And we want to continue to pray for both the late. May their souls rest in perfect peace. On that note, I want to thank you again, once again, for our invitation. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ture, it's good to hear that you are not just representing the Ministry of Information, but also that you are a family member to the late Professor Lamin Sanneh. For me, I used to say the relationship that should be between the government and the civil society organizations should be that of what in economics is referred to as division of labor and specialization. So when we divide the labor and responsibility, then the work becomes effective and efficient. That the government cannot do everything, and also the civil society organizations also cannot do everything. But when they divide the responsibilities, also work together, then there will be progress. So that is what I believe in. And also thank you so much for representing the Ministry of Information, and also we want to urge you to extend our regards to the ministry, and also we look forward to collaborating with the ministry for different activities. Now moving forward, we want to also give this time, because we have been hearing from different individuals speaking. Now we want to open this space for people that may have questions or comments that they want to make as we discuss the things that were discussed here. And I'm not very good at moderating questions and answers, so I will invite Mr. Amadou Gueye to help the Institute in moderating people that have questions or people that have comments to make as they come by. Mr. Amadou Gueye.
Actually, we want this to be very informal, very, very informal. Huh? So really the idea is to, in fact, if you look at the program, you'll see at the end some kind of banter bar there, informal. We want to chat with those that are here and have time, you know, including our main guests, if they may stay just a little bit after the last item on the program. Maybe during the time that we're going to have our food and beverages, we could also have this chat, you know, freely, you know. So probably, Mr. Moderator, this should go to that level, but we can start now because we still have time. And thank the guests again. And we've heard their messages very clearly, especially the keynote speaker. And we would now like to open the floor, you know, about those three presentations or statements, but also the statements from Prof. Sen about the Institute itself. He was very short. You know, he didn't talk about much more, like why we have the office, etc., because he just wanted to summarize and allow others to speak. So this is for you, not for us at the embassy, at the Institute. So we would like you to just raise your questions, your concerns in terms of the challenges we may face, the opportunities that are available in terms of interaction with the community. We have within our menu of programs, mentoring, career counseling for students, which is why some are here present from the UTG. So we really want to engage the young people, especially. Women and young people, I think Prof mentioned it, is a key focus for this institute. They are cross-cutting, so we just mentioned those two because they touch on everything else that we set out to do. So we do not have many women, unfortunately, and we are to work on that as an institute. Even our speakers should have one, so that's a self-criticism. It reflects our society. So, but we have to be different, right? And show them that, hey, this needs to change. And it should start from us, the Nyang Sanneh Institute. So yeah, very, very informal, please. We said 5 minutes, but it can be even a bit longer for those that are present, but also for those that have even given a statement, if they still want to raise anything related to what have been said here. We welcome you all. So the floor is open and the floor is yours.
Bring up your ideas, ask some questions, and feel free, because we want to hear from you. This is your occasion, and we would like to hear as much as possible. What is that you expect from us? Who suggests this to do that? What impact do you think it can have? What are possible routes that we could take? So there are really a lot of good and very good questions that we can explore for the furtherance of this institute. Yes.
My name is Fulbe. I'm part of the Nyang Sanneh Institute. Basically, what I saw probably we need to touch a little bit so that people this. We are very much into making sure that there are laptops in our community and schools. We even went all these few years with the library, to make sure that we do a propaganda, fundraiser in here and in the diaspora that we can spearhead and work with other groups. Because up to a year and a half ago, the library was in a such state. If you went in, you can find 4, 5, 6, 8 students sharing on the library. Matter of fact, it went so bad that some of them used to take it outside, but when it got to the license, they had a problem. Each one was stopping this. So we talked to the National Library. They said they welcome us anytime because they need. One of their leaders there, she's deceased now, and she was telling us story of how some of the youth were so hungry for knowledge that it was unbelievable. But we didn't have that. So even in this is part of our project. So if you know our institute who are going to help us, that will be fine. Because we always used to say that you can learn from here to final. You cannot get in anywhere where you can get in and sit down for at least 10 minutes, have some water, or in a library, or anywhere in the region. So this doesn't happen in other countries. Less developed countries have places where you can go in, where kids can get in, and even adults, but you'll be surprised. This time in day, some have never ever used it at the lab. And we were putting so much onto it. I'm getting out of question, but just to share with you what we were doing, and we were to have some help with a lot of people. Some of you were on their own to listen. And it is very, very good that we can start with TV. Because our children cannot compete in this world without knowledge of computers and IT. We have to. And we have people in the diaspora, we have to make a deal that are in institutions and in cities where people the countries and the people were given out laptops free. But the whole community of 1,000, 2,000 Gambians cannot go in and access 50 computers when you touch in Gambia. That's acceptable, right? You know, and then you have the same people bringing cars and trucks and stuff like that, but probably we do less, you know, for our people than we do. But just to cut it short, I just want to put that word out there. Computer systems and laptops, anything we are able to have. And we have a lot of intellectuals who are retired, who are in this society. They talk about it, but they don't know, where to find it. That's why when you see that we are trying to raise the issue of getting Nyang Sanneh Institute, you need to put some learning institution. Learning materials there. So come on, you know, it's done. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. From the statement that we've just heard from our esteemed speakers. And I think for me, what I am excited about with the Nyang Sanneh Institute, most of the time my issue, as most of the young people that know me would know, is focus on them. And we've got this opportunity now to engage. And I think what I want to say is that I hope that the young people of the country, especially in our higher learning institutions, will leverage or take advantage of this opportunity. We have ideas of what we want to do in terms of bridging that intergenerational gap, in terms of knowledge exchange, knowledge transfer, right? And we have a vision of what we want to do, but you also should have your vision of what you need from those of us who have a little bit more experience than you. And you don't wait until we come to you to say, you know, this is what we want to give you. You have your own ideas, you have your own visions, you know what you want. Engage us, and if we are able to help, we engage and help you. I think that should be something that is part of the consideration. In terms of what we want to do, for myself personally, is always to say, you know, there's a lot more opportunity to learn now for education. But my biggest goal at this, of what I want to contribute, is to push young people to not treat knowledge as passion, right? And I think it's a challenge that we face as a country, where people want to graduate just to wear a wig and gown, and not really to transform society, as you know, Prof. Salah said. And so that is part of our aim, but you also need to initiate it from your end as well. So that would be my short advice to you. And of course, we will be coming up with ideas and programs that we hope you will also engage with us with, and so we can work together and collaborate. Thank you.
Good. Professor Salah said, as our role, our main role, we summarize them in three bullets, right? Research to policy action, knowledge to practice, and then we hold authorities accountable by summarizing in a very simple way. So these are very key, and I would want to raise this in line with what's going on now in terms of our activities. In fact, I wanted Omar to be part of this discussion. Yes, Omar Kamara, you know, because these are activists. We are aware currently, we don't want to go into the details, but we are having issue now, and things are in court. And these are young people who are trying to demonstrate and ask for certain things, very simple. They were not destroying things. They were not doing. So it touches the society that this is happening. So I'm taking the advantage to raise it here, because of the collaboration between evidence-based research, as he was talking about, feeding into young people who want to really see certain things change, but then they can rely on this data rather than passion, as Imran has just said. Of course, the passion is important. It should always be there. If you want to do something, have passion. Yeah, but I'm saying not to overdo it. Without passion, you are not a human being. So, how do we really maybe collaborate or build partnerships so that what we are doing at the institute and many other institutes, of course, to generate knowledge, could also be, you know, a ground for activists like the types that that we have in the country, in terms of knowing this is the data, this is the information that we can use to advocate for the things that we want to change. Because otherwise, sometimes government also questions, I mean, why are this happening? But when you have the information, I think they understand, better. So I just wanted to raise this without talking much about the details, just to trigger conversation around this.
Yes, I think now you've given me an opportunity to speak. Yeah, but I think I had this conversation with Prof a couple of times. And for me, I always feel like the Nyang Sanneh Institute is going to be that institution where we run to if it comes to knowledge, because advocacy should be knowledge-based. I keep saying this all the time, and then as somebody that has been in the space for the past 8 years, 9 years, one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of impact in our advocacy space is because we only want to go to the field. We only want to advocate. We only want to gather projects. We don't want to do this on knowledge base, just like the way Prof said. Policy is supposed to be knowledge-based driven. That's the same way that advocacy, because at the end of the day, advocacy and policy and public policy is what relates us together. That's what bridges the gap between government and the people, so that we are able to effect that change that we have. And then, like I and Prof already talked about, let's say for example, fellowship that we could do, where young people are built up. We build the capacity of young people, because activism is not just being in the streets. It's knowing what you want to change. How do you want to change it, and what are the channels to be able to effect that change? So it's knowledge-based driven. That's why most of the time, the government will always find a way to say you don't understand issues. That's why even if we challenge the legal framework, they will say you don't understand issues. Then we need to build a generation that understands issues to be able to effect that change. But if you look forward to partnering with Nyang Sanneh Institute, I've always been having these conversations with Prof, and we could do a lot together.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Interactions. I think these are all important elements. But of course, I mean, I think if talking noise and all those things were to solve the problem of this country, I feel that now will be done. But I like that in the sense that, it's a democratic transition, it is happening, people are free. But I think we're losing a lot of time in terms of how do we, I think Prof. Kino was also looking at that, how do we go beyond where we are and get our hands, on the dirty on the ground to see how best we can help. Sometimes not only all about governance, but also how do you help the next person to be better off? Because that's the next step that the country needs to get. And especially for the advocacy side, I think Omar mentioned that. Advocacy without knowledge, without engagement and interaction, it's sometimes counterproductive, but one that is driven by all that interest, I think for me it is very more sustainable, but one that is also equally very relevant for our time. But we also need, there is a willing older generation, is there a willing younger generation? That's also a generational question. That we must also issues that we must also raise. But at the end of the day, there needs to be that synergy, that relationship that needs to be built.
I just wanted to add that as we're talking about epistemology, policy, and all of that, we're also remembering people in the grassroots and how this impacts them and how they're also involved on the discussion table. As Prof said, we would have the minister, but we also have the people. So as we're discussing, we also need to be very cognizant of marginalized voices, people living with disabilities, people in the regions, people in the grassroots, and how does this knowledge production and knowledge product, how does it translate to their lives and how it's accessible in the everyday kind of, Gambian ordinary life. Because I know it's, knowledge is sometimes, it's fancy, we write all these little books, it's kept somewhere, but how do we ensure that ordinary Gambian actually get access to this and understands it and impacts their life on a day-to-day basis? So I think it's just a reminder to us at Nyang Sanneh, but also kind of like just putting it out there that, as we're going, we also need to consider those marginalized voices and communities and how they can also access all the beautiful work that we're doing in the local languages as well, in sign language, just, involving them in as we're going on.
Fantastic.
That's a fantastic idea.
So we can summarize that as applied research. We're not interested in academic research, just writing things and putting them there. So applied research. That's the point she's raising. How do we hear the voices of the people? You know, so the kind of research we want to do is to communicate with the people, like the activists and others who are even not activists but have views on how society should be run, and then take those voices and bring them to the public space. That's one of the missions of this institute, and that was a great point. And especially on issues of gender, we want to talk about, because of our culture, you know, religion, or I don't know, whatever it is. We should be talking more about it. We are so delighted, and also to take the advantage to appreciate the presence, you know, of one very strong, powerful woman who is also in our midst. Maybe you want to introduce, introduce. I leave that with the moderator, but we are very happy to have you. Absolutely. Yes, she's really supportive from the onset, from the start of this institute. I dare say, and we would like to see those kind of faces and voices and influences from our society. So yeah, so we would not want to go further. We want to cut this short, and we will continue, if you allow us, on the bantaba, the informal bantaba, while we are eating, having, we can still continue the discussion. Moderator, I pass it back to you. Yes, you are allowed.
What we try to do is to have a very strong IEC department, IEC, I mean Information, Education and Communication unit or whatever, to ensure that whatever we do, is communicated to the general public. She talked about things being transmitted in sign language and vernacular. I think it's very essential, and I'm supposed to take it on board instead of just leaving it up at the yes. Recently, somebody posted in our group, that gentleman who was saying that the intellectuals should now move away from publication. You remember? And you reacted. Absolutely. Yeah, the publications are okay, yes, but let them filter down to the ordinary man in the street. That's the only time it will become beneficial and useful and helpful.
And simplification of language as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Simplification of language.
Yes.
Absolutely. Even for just high school kids.
Absolutely.
Child-friendly versions of.
Yes. You want to say something about that?
Yes. Do not know. I have not met who Mr. Uncle Lamin Kirijabang is. We have been hearing the name. And the GRTS lady down there is from Janikunda in Pirang, so we have been hearing the name of Lamin Kirijabang several times. So we want to thank you so much for the comments that are made. We believe these are very powerful and important ones. It is only when we have conversations that we can be able to listen or get different ideas from different people. But just as Mr. Gay was starting, it's important also to recognize the presence of those that just joined us lately. And we want to start with Mrs. Juka Jaba. Those of us who are from Pirang do not know, have not met who Mr. or Uncle Lamin Kirijabang is, but we have been hearing the name. And the GRTS lady down there is from Janekunda in Pirang, so we have been hearing the name of Lamin Kirijabang for several times. So we want to thank you so much for also gracing this occasion.
She's a member, she's also a member.
Exactly. A founding member of the Institute. We also want to recognize the presence of also my boss at the university, Mr. Biran Gai, who is also a lecturer at the university. We recognize your presence. We also want to recognize the presence of the senator, the vice president of the University of the Gambia Students' Union. So we have different people here who happen to be Mr. Ibrahim Jata. We recognize your presence. We thank you all for coming. So this conversation, as Mr. Gay said, should not end here, but there are conversations that should continue. We also want to call upon, especially the young people, the students, that they can come to this office anytime, that we have books on gender. I think almost we have books on everything, aside from football, aside from Premier League and La Liga, but we have books.
And no screen.
Exactly, but we have books in politics, in religion, gender, development, justice, you name them. So those of you who are students going to university, or even those that are lecturers, or people that are working in any area, at your leisure time, you can pass by to come and have a book and read. So as we conclude, also we want to invite Council Imran Dabo to give a closing remarks on behalf of the Institute before we take our leave.
We managed to make it away from the podium all the way to the end. It's a progress made. But I won't make it long. I know some of our esteemed guests have other plans. I myself, I also have another engagement I have to attend. But we would like to say thank you very much to all of you that attended this inauguration of the office today. We really appreciate it, and we also appreciated the insights and the comments that you made. It's inspiring to see that this has promise, and we hope to push and carry on forward. And also some of the brief ideas that we discuss here, we hope in the coming months and days and years to put them into action and to put all of the ideas that were shared today into practical use. Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming. Have a good day.